Alright, so another day, another Sonic Rangers leak, right? Well, actually, no, not this time. This one is a bit more interesting. It's not just some random leak on 4chan, right? A member of TailsChannel, iTsDakiii, claims to have a source who has actually played the game, a source that they claim has not let them down before, and this guy works for TailsChannel, and you guys seem to trust TailsChannel a lot, right? I mean, I cover a lot of news from TailsChannel, although this one isn't actually on their website, it's on the guy's personal YouTube channel, so I mean, take from that what you will. But nonetheless, everyone is talking about it, it's gaining a lot of views, and it's just a video right now, but I've used the YouTube transcript feature so I can just read the words of the video because it's like 15 minutes, so we're just gonna kind of skim through this and just see what is going on with this latest leak and how it differs from the earlier ones we saw before. So yeah, I'm going to be skimming through this, and obviously the transcript thing isn't fully perfect, but I'm sure most of the words here are going to be accurate. You know, it says we're going to get information on Rangers, lucky enough to know someone that spent their time playtesting the game, information down to controls, gameplay, things like that. Source has done nothing wrong in the past for them, they believe everything, okay. Certain things are subject to change in the game. It's only a small demo that this source played, so it's not representative of the entire game. So the first question he asked them was, how did the game start? And he said the demo starts with the title screen saying Sonic Rangers, working title with a beautiful panoramic view of the world in the background. Orchestral music playing, don't recognize the theme. You're given the choice between Japanese and English. Okay, so far nothing really outrageous here. They asked how far along do you think it is? He says pretty far along. It's still got a lot of jank in it, though next year is still not a certainty, as I've already been saying in previous videos. I mean, the simple fact that they mentioned a 2022 release of no release window or period or month kind of puts that leeway in there for them to just say, oh, actually 2023. The game did look visually stunning. It was on a high-end PC. That was the output. There is a problem though. It's got Sonic 06 vibes, to be honest. That Sonic doesn't fit in the environment at all. The enemies look straight out of Breath of the Wild and Dark Souls is Rara. So basically people just not liking the aesthetic of 06, basically complaining about that. That's not a problem. Honestly, this is not a problem at all. Sonic being Sonic the Hedgehog, being next to mechs and other enemies like in 06, did not bother me at all. Just like it didn't bother people in Super Mario Odyssey when Mario the human, the ridiculous cartoony looking human, was, you know, around a bunch of regular looking humans and people just memed it for a few days and stopped. But with 06, it's this big deal that we all have to talk about. But nonetheless, I digress. You know, I don't think that's a problem, that's an opinion, but like, yeah, I guess we could expect if he's going to be in this big open world that it's not going to be a cartoony open world, and that Sonic might seem a bit different compared to everything else there. As we go through this, I think you guys will find that Sonic Unleashed has been a big inspiration for this game, so maybe the nighttime enemies were an inspiration. I mean, I guess Breath of the Wild does have those kind of enemies that kind of remind me somewhat of those werehog monsters or whatever, so I can see why they would go back to something like that. It seems we're not getting bad necks. Okay, that's a bad translation. What does it actually say in the video? Oh, bad nicks. Okay, never mind. Bad nicks. Okay. What could you buy in the tower shop? 3 things: the aforementioned spin cycle, yeah, we heard about that in the leaks, light speed dash, and the, I'm guessing, stomp attack. By the way, all of the UI tools were just Forces assets, so obviously a placeholder. Hopefully a placeholder, because they could just keep using that Forces aesthetic, but I'm hoping they put something new and fresher that doesn't look like that annoying flat design of Forces. I'm getting sick of everything being flat design, and this is not just the Sonic thing, but just in general. Like, the flat design is cool, but like, my god, like, I do miss designs that weren't just flat everything. He says, while I thought the combat was overly simplified, I was actually very impressed with the enemy variety. There was a rock monster and a Lionel ripoff that I sort of looked like it was ripped straight out of Breath of the Wild. The AI was also surprisingly well done. If you walk slowly around grass, enemies will have a harder time finding you. Bigger enemies will chase you around the environment. Level design, I thought the level design for the platform puzzle challenges to be decent, though very simple. No idea how much of this will be in the final game. Felt traditional in the Sonic sense. They asked, did any of the Sonic dialogue stand out to you? Said it was all flavor text except for one line. Sony makes a note about the environment. I'm guessing that's Sonic. Sonic makes a note about the environment not feeling right, and he immediately believes Eggman has something to do with this, alluding to the cyberspace thing possibly being nothing but illusions. So how would you assess the combat? Very simple, probably too simple. You said those 4chan posts call it button mashy, and that's an apt comment. Okay, so those early 4chan posts are telling the truth. I have a feeling it will become more complex as you get more moves, upgrades, but in the present demo, you could spam the homing attack, but Sonic could use a flurry of punches and kicks, finishes on bigger enemies. I mean, it could be like Unleashed Werehog, where it's like, no offense, but basic bitches will just button mash everything and say that the combat is button mashy, but then actually, like, there's faster and better ways to do things if you learn the mechanics, and, you know, but most people won't learn them, so they'll just say, oh, it's button mashy and leave it at that. It could be one of those situations, but it could just be a case of button masher does the job just fine. We'll have to see. Do you know how long the game's been in development? There's been talk about this being in planning since spring of 2017. There were tests being done around that time to see how a traditional 3D Sonic game will work in the modern era. Sick of America? What? Oh, so we're talking to Epic about using Unreal Engine, I'm guessing. Not sure if those talks went anywhere or not. This is probably the best he's looked in about a decade. That's not really saying much. Generations is a decade old, so, you know, if it's the best thing since Generations, that just really doesn't mean much. Unless they talk about visually, in which case, even still, like, they should have passed Generations graphically by now. They should have passed Unleashed graphically by now, but they haven't really. I mean, in some elements they have, but I would still say Unleashed is overall better looking than, say, Forces, because of, like, the art style being way better in my opinion. I almost thought they threw the Unleashed model in there for a second, but it's definitely not his Forces model. The CG trailer is an accurate representation of how he will look. The Switch version, no idea. Yeah, we're gonna consider the Switch version right now. Developers are turning to long-term DLC plans in order to get back on some costs on these very expensive games. I'd be stunned if there isn't an expansion pack or season pass on that. Man, they really want to get us on season passes? We can't even trust the base game to be good. We gotta pay for season passes now? Okay. Alright, that's it. That's kind of interesting. So we could be paying like $100 for Rangers, like if there's like some season pass shit going on. So they're definitely gonna make bank off of this game, like regardless of how it turns out, because they're gonna get you to pre-order this. They'll probably get you like some pre-order discount. Like the season pass would be like $120, but if you pre-order it before the game comes out, maybe you pay $100 and you rack up a ton of those, and if the game comes out and it's mid, it's like, oh well, you already paid for that shit. Something to be careful of, essentially. I mean, I'm in a way I'm still glad. I'm not trying to hate on them making like DLC, because honestly I still think 06 and Unleashed have the best DLC. They haven't really gone in on DLC since then, and it's kind of weird given that all the other AAA developers are doing that. If they do this thing seriously, and let's say you have to wait 5 years till the next main title, maybe we get like a big DLC every year for like the first 2-3 years of that, you know, while the rest of the team is working on the next game, whatever. Like, it's like you're keeping the game alive while we wait for that next game, instead of just game comes out, you know, it's mid or whatever, then see you in half a decade or whatever. Like, so I'm not trying to hate on DLC. I'm just saying just better do everything right. Again, they say Unleashed seems to be a big inspiration for the game. We're not talking about Supersonic DLC, thank God. We're not talking about cosmetic DLC, which might happen because this game hints to have cosmetic items. Wouldn't be surprised, Colors Ultimate had it. But maybe we'll see our first season pass or actually fully thought out more levels. I mean, I guess the open world, more DLC with more levels definitely could easily work. They ask, is there another game to compare Rangers to that isn't Breath of the Wild? And they said in terms of platformers, they would say 2 games that strikingly similar to are the levels of Banjo and Kazooie and Sonic Jam, like I guess the 3D world and Sonic Jam. That's kind of interesting. I mean, I haven't played Banjo, but I know it's a collectathon. Collectathons are not really my thing personally, so it's not exactly what I'm looking for in a Sonic game, but I mean, I guess it's an open world Sonic game, so I'm not surprised that there's going to be collectathon elements in it. Just like Rangers, you're given a multitude of tasks to do in order to get to the next thing you need to progress. It's actually something I thought about last night. I'm not sure if the inspiration is intentional or not. How big do you think the world map was? Huge, gigantic, cannot underestimate that. I got a tiny glimpse of the map for a moment, but what we saw was definitely just a small cut of the area. I wasn't able to find out or run to a point to see if there were any other volumes, but I doubt you'd be in the same place throughout the entire game size-wise, given that Sonic's movement is obviously much more quicker than, say, Link. I'd say it's going to be the size of Breath of the Wild or Skyrim's world at the very least. Okay. Again, the budget on a game like this is astronomical, and the source goes on to say, oh yes, there's a Breath of the Wild moment that's becoming a trend with games like Horizon, Ghost of Tsushima, and others. There's a cliff area where Sonic can stand there and look over the surrounding area. Yeah, I mean, that's always a good thing to see. It was beautiful, but it was very blatant aping of the current trends of just how open world games work nowadays. Not much we can do. They just give you a panoramic view of a lot of the world. They want you to feel immersed. I mean, the world has to be big, because if Sonic is faster than these other characters and the world is small, it's just going to be a problem. Like, let's be real. And they mentioned the movie, how it had that electrical Sonic and people had a positive reaction to it, so maybe they decided to go back on the whole no more forms beyond Super Sonic and have a few more. That's interesting. Some kind of cyberspace Ranger's new form of Sonic could be interesting to see. Okay, they're asking about Wisps, of course. There were no Wisps inside. You got boost energy by collecting rings, and if you ever run out of any, the ghost lady would give you more and yell Soniku, which, you know, I'm assuming this playtester played the game Japanese or whatever. Okay, so this is where things are starting to pick up in a positive manner. I mean, no Wisps is definitely a surprising thing, you know, because you would think in an open world they'll find some way to give some Wisps some ability or something like that. But, you know, this just means there's no boost Wisp, I guess. Like, there could still be Wisp for other things. Like, let's not get our hopes up too quickly. But at the same time, this is an open world Sonic game. It's a whole new era of Sonic, clearly, that they're trying to usher in, because they said, like, I think it was Azuka that mentioned this, that this formula was going to be here for like a decade if it worked. They're going to milk it at least a few more times, most likely. And maybe to them, the Wisp is like that meta era kind of thing that they really milked throughout that decade. And it's like, okay, time to find the next thing to milk. And since Wisp was like more common in like the modern Sonic 2D games that we were getting, like colors and forces and shit like that, this is like the open world 3D thing. We need a new gimmick, we need a new thing. And they mentioned the controls. This is a big one, so brace yourselves. As for controls, and I'm surprised you didn't ask this sooner, but this is why I'm fairly certain, very little of Force's DNA is in the game. It doesn't feel anything like that at all. Round of applause for that, please. Forces control like total garbage, I agree, and I made sure to tell them that he felt really good to control. The boost air control seems like something they've done away with, and it makes sense as to why the Sonic functions as something like, say, Unleashed is not something that would work in an explorative open world game. You need full 360-degree control of Sonic, and that's what they've given him here. I wouldn't say it's adventure, because honestly I can't remember the last time I played WoW, but it's definitely not Lost World either. I would put it somewhere in between those. That's kind of interesting. I noticed that Sonic would pick up speed slightly going downhill, but I need to play again to check it again. He acted appropriately to terrain, I remember, because there are challenges to where you ran on walls. Could compare how fast he was to previous games. We've seen the same speed in the cyberspace levels. What I believe this to be, because he said he hadn't played Adventure 1 in a while, and it wasn't Lost World. Lost World seems like butchered adventure control, let's be real. Like, it feels like they wanted something to feel like Adventure 1, but they couldn't get it right, so it became Lost World. So my assumption is that it's probably trying to be like Adventure 1 in terms of movement, but failing, so also having some Lost World feeling to it, a slight butchering. Maybe not as butchered as Lost World control, but definitely not as smooth as Adventure 1 control. If we were to take a previous Sonic game that already exists, SA1 control would be the best one to use for an open world Sonic game, and that's facts. Let's be real. It just had the best movement for Sonic, especially since that was the first game to have 3D hub worlds. If we're going to include Sonic Jam, then I guess that had it, but let's be real, SA1 really did that shit properly. So the closer they can get to that, the better. What you saw in the CG trailer was accurate. Once you find a cyberspace level, Sonic begins to glow with some sort of energy and he's warped in. And good thing it's not a Wisp. It's like jacking into cyberspace. A la Rockman EXE. Rockman, like Mega Man? I only had time to get 2 of them, but I came away very impressed. They're the typical boost level stages. First was just your typical Green Hill clone. Music was absolutely fitting of a first stage. Grind rails and trick ramps throughout. Second was a factory stage, guessing chemical plants. The inspiration left both of them. Yeah, I wasn't surprised that Green Hill chemical plant would be in there. Getting an S rank awarded you a Chaos Emerald? Oh no, that's not good at all. That is not good at all. The way I see it is this: the cyberspace levels are just kind of there to remind you that, hey, there's some regular Sonic gameplay here, but the main game is going to be open world. And those initial leaks, the original 4chan leaks before the Sonic Central, said that the Cyberspace levels were the highlight of the game, but the open world parts weren't that good. Now, they could just be having opinions that we disagree with, but if you think about it, if each one gives you a Chaos Emerald, they're kind of being treated like special stages, right? That means there'll be like 7 of them. If they're like a few minutes each, then you get like 7 of these boost levels. And if the open world gameplay doesn't live up to the hype and the highlight is these 7 boost levels, then the majority of the game is gonna feel mid, right? So we really have to hope that they do the open world gameplay justice to where the Cyberspace levels just feel like a bonus, you know? And the guy makes sure to clarify that it's not technically Green Hill and Chemical Plant, it's just levels that are very much inspired by them. So they're obviously just using it, kind of like how 06 had a lot of levels inspired by like the adventure era, but not actually the same names. And since this, in a way, then they're probably not going to call it a reboot, but it's in a way some kind of reboot of Sonic, a whole new formula. They're probably going to borrow some level themes. I wish if they were going to borrow level themes, they would borrow more interesting ones other than Green Hill and Chemical Plant. You know, like there's so many, like borrow something else, like
fucking do something else. Just, god damn it! We have all the shit that you're doing. We already have it. Do something else. Do something else. That's it. That's all we want. Do something else. Holy shit.
Borrow Ocean Palace, borrow Power Plant, borrow Eggman Land. Like, we'd love to see Eggman Land again, right? I don't know, like Green Hill. I'd rather they borrow Windmill Isle. That's way more interesting. Honestly, this is fine as long as later on there's more variety. That's what they said about Forces. And yeah, that's pretty much everything. So, yeah, what are my thoughts on this leak? It confirmed a few things that I already thought were gonna happen, and also deconfirmed something that I really thought would happen. So like, them saying no Wisps was definitely a surprise to me, because I was fully sure of Wisps. I was also fully sure of Green Hill and pretty sure of Chemical Plant, and they confirmed that, although not exactly the same. So, you know, keep that in mind. But in terms of the control, I mean, it sounds like it's not going to be too horrible, right? If it's better than Lost World, you know, but not as good as Adventure, like, at least it's better than Lost World, right? Because Lost World control is still way more tolerable than Forces control. So at least the control is better than what we've been getting for a while. Like, I'm not expecting this game to really beat anything that came from, like, what I would consider to be Sonic's best years, you know, which is obviously subjective, but at least if it could be better than the 2010s, then at least it's a start, right? You know, I am curious to see what happens with this open world gameplay, because at the end of the day, if these Cyberspace levels are just a few little levels to get the Chaos Emeralds and then you're done, and that's like your standard boost gameplay, I don't really think we can rely on that to like hype up the game, because even if those Cyberspace levels were amazing, you still need the open world gameplay to be lit. And I don't fully understand what we're going to be doing in the open world yet. So whatever puzzles are there or whatever, I don't know how it's going to work with Sonic and his movement. This leak mentions nothing about other playable characters, so I'm assuming it's just Sonic. It does mention the Ghost Girl and shit like that, but obviously that's not like main gameplay or anything like that. So yeah, I mean, this leak has me intrigued. I wouldn't say it's made me more or less hype for the game. I mean, we still need to see gameplay. I'm just at a point where I don't know what to expect. Like, I mean, I kind of have ideas of what to expect, but it's all about if they can execute properly. Like, as someone who's already not big on Sonic being an open world thing, they really have to do something special for me to like be like, they really pull this off and I'm set on this idea, I'm sold on it, like this is what I want now. Like, do you know what I mean? Also, the fact that it could be delayed to 2023 is pretty interesting. I mean, it's clear they want to actually get this like done properly, but again, only time will tell. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about these leaks. A member of TailsChannel has got a source, and they seem to believe this source, and they say that this is what Rangers is going to be about so far. Of course, things are subject to change. I mean, this is a game that's coming out supposedly late 2022 that could get delayed to 2023. So that's like a year plus from now, if it was at earliest November 2022. So there's a lot that could change from now. Hopefully we see some gameplay around the E3 period of 2022 so we can like make up our minds and shit, like about what this game's gonna be like. But I'm still in that neutral place right now. Like, I'm still very neutral. I'm kind of intrigued at the fact that they're doing something different, happy that it's not more like meta era shit, but at the same time it's not exactly what I would have wanted. So we'll see if it's at least something better than what we've been getting since Generations. But yeah, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell. Make sure to check out the non-Sonic channel. The link will be in the description. But that's all I have to say right now. So, Premy out.